Well. Thought we had a transition. Either way, good morning to everybody. Happy New Year. Sorry that we are late. Looks like Chris Mason was drunk off the eggnog last night. Had few too many glasses, but we are here. Looks like we're back. Super Cowboys is back to his doom and gloom state, saying 8-4 next year. Even though he can look at the schedule and easily see there's a lot of wins on that schedule, a lot of winnable games on the schedule. Regardless, we are not there yet, people. We are here to talk about recruiting info. And we're talking about portal exits right now and then projected targets. Glad that you guys are hanging in there with us. As you come in, please like and subscribe to each channel. You have the Hall of Fame College Football Podcast, obviously, with Jason and the coach. But with us two here, Chris and Chris, you have Chris Griffin with the Sooners. You have Chris Griffin with the Horns Down podcast, and you have Chris Mason with the Sooners 360 podcast, where you can get all your information for recruiting. No fluff, all the good stuff. You already know the rest. So definitely go out there, check out the Patreon, all the rest of that. We're active on Twitter as well. So definitely follow us and interact with us, guys. We're here to talk to you guys, and we're not hiding the 8 ball or anything like that. Chris Mason, Happy New Year to you. You doing all right?
I'm doing fine.
All right. With no further ado, let's go ahead and jump into it. So we have finally seen pretty much what you can call kind of like a mass exodus, I guess you can say.
It was cut day. It was cut day.
Yeah, it was cut day. Overall thoughts, Chris Mason. You didn't really lose a lot of production out of there. Now, there's a couple of names that we'll talk about, and we're going to kind of go room by room. I guess first, Chris Mason, I'd like to start with the offensive line room. There's a name in there that I definitely was surprised about. Obviously, you lose both Jakes, which we talked about on and off screen, which that probably needed to happen. You lose Troy Everett. Backlinko from Stanford. That was a little bit odd because I thought that he would be in that 2-man next year. He'd kind of be one of your swing tackles if you couldn't land something in the portal. But Logan Howland jumped into the portal. Obviously, I think that he wants to start. But Chris Mason, what are your thoughts about all of that?
Well, yeah, obviously, we expected the Jakes to get in the portal. Troy Everett being in the portal once he got his waiver, no big surprise there. Backlenko had to burn his junior year last year because of OU's injuries. I think OU ideally would have liked to have redshirted him and brought him back for 2 years, brought him back for 2026, 2027. That didn't happen, so he's only got a year left. So again, he's looking for somewhere to start as well, and I think that's the same. It's the same story with Logan Howland. He sees this. If we have any doubts about where the team, the players, and everyone thinks Ryan Foge's playing next fall, Chris, it's obviously right tackle.
Yeah.
So Howland probably accurately views Ryan Foge as the starter at right tackle, which puts him as the backup swing tackle in both positions. And I'm guessing some representation or some school is telling him, if you get in the portal, you'll be a starter at tackle for us. He has a lot of upside. He is injured. He has been banged up. So I think he's viewing this is part of the issue, and 3 of your returning starters are freshmen, right? The upperclassmen behind them don't view it as something that they can compete with, and they look to hit the portal. It's the downside of how OU got younger and more talented on the O line this year, is that you're upperclassmen competing with them.
This is the byproduct of true. And shout out to my guy Jay and Coop on Fair Sports. Here's a little nod to you guys. You have true competitive depth. So we'll take a drink every time we say that word. But still, you have competitive depth. You have real competitive depth. You've talked about it a lot, and it seems to have come to fruition. And years ago on this podcast, and I think Chris Mason's probably heard me say it. I know Unc has heard me say it, but it's it's odd. Now, NIL has magnified it a lot, Chris Mason. It has put it under a huge microscope, right? But
Yeah, I mean it's everywhere. I mean it's everywhere
no,
in
no, no.
college football.
What I was going to say, just to finish that point, is just a simple fact that this is what Bama and Georgia and teams like that go through every year. I mean, this is not, it's not rocket science. This is not you're upset or this and that. This is your cutting dead weight, like Chris Mason was saying. But Chris Mason, I would turn and say, I think right now my attention would be what happens with, I guess, your guy Akin Kumi, because obviously I think the younger guys would stay. I think the younger guys are going to be fine, and I'm looking for Afalava to be in the mix for that right guard spot. But what happens to Heath Ozida? Where are we at on that? Have you heard anything about him?
Well, I can only go by the forwarded social media messages that are out there that show him, um, show that seem to indicate he's coming back. His mom, who I think is in the Oklahoma City area now, lives in the Oklahoma City area. Not sure I had that. Not sure I knew that. Um, Indicates that he was working out. He's healthy for the first time. This is the first healthy off season he's had since he's been at OU, and he's I think he enrolled early, late as part of that. He wasn't here, so this is his third. This is his best off season health wise and all that. And I think he's staying in Norman, ready to compete for the right guard position. So I think right now, for maybe the first time under Brent, at least for the last couple of years, we go into spring with a starting five.
An official Boomer 580, the shady 580. Hopefully from the real one, not the fake one. But we all love EPL, but should both guard spots be an open competition next year?
I think offensive line wise, you're going to have competition at most spots. I think the only guys, the portal's not so. We're going to have some competition. Somebody brought in that can push Foji and Fasusi.
Mhm.
They won't take. I don't think they're going to be 5-star, kind of recruits like those guys. But we'll have some competition across the entire offensive line. I think Afalava, if he's healthy, can have a good winter conditioning. He's a little heavy right now. I think just based upon the listed weight on Sooner Sports. I think he probably could trim up a little bit. But he's a big guy. He's always been a big guy. But he's been on the shelf for a little bit with that knee, so I think he could be a force. And if Daniel UK stays, he needs to stay with the feedback that he's going to be in the two deep playing at one of the guard spots or at right tackle.
Yeah.
So I think that's his case. If he's not going to see the field in that two deep next year, then Daniel probably sadly needs to take a look at what he's doing and see if he needs to move to a different team where he's actually going to start and play.
All right.
I mean,
Well,
it's just he's just got to get you got to get reps in at some point.
yeah. No, you gotta get reps in and gotta go from there. I think there's gonna be a lot of competition, and it seems like you're getting better, and guys are getting out there on the field. Now we all know. Now Boomer 580. Now, I will say this. I will say this. First off, McCurtain County, Idabel, Oklahoma is a real shady 580, but we digress. We can have that conversation. Regardless, though, just to answer your question, though, I would say that going into this season, I do believe what Chris Mason is saying is correct. I think that 4 out of your 5 offensive line spots are shored up. However, this is Bill Beatonbow we're talking about, so there could be a little bit of shuffle here and there if necessary. I'm hopeful. What I'm really hopeful about is that this will be the healthiest amount of camps or set of camps that our offensive line can go through. No major injuries, no drawbacks, no people have to sit out and this and that. I'm hoping that guys stay healthy, stay ready, and are ready to go game one against, I believe, UTEP, right? So I think that's what you're aiming for, really, with this offensive line is that you don't have Howland and Ozida, sitting out half, most of spring camp and summer reps and all the
Well,
rest of it.
they weren't ready until they weren't cleared until like August 1st.
Exactly, exactly. So I mean, I think that's kind of where you're at with it. Like no big injuries, no craziness over this off season. That way you guys can really truly build continuity and come to some and learn to trust each other, and not just those five together or whoever's going to start, but also with Mateer, build that relationship. And I know that's still a domino waiting to fall. Real quick, Chris Mason. Any other comments about the O line room before we switch?
No, I mean it's a lot of names, but are we really surprised by any of them?
Yeah. No.
I mean,
And again, yeah.
are there? I mean, obviously, we would like Logan Howland back as a swing depth tackle for us. But if you're in Logan Howland's position, and let's also remember they're not starting, so maybe their NIL money is not what they would like, and maybe their NIL money from someone else is a little higher. Logan's from New Jersey. Maybe he'd like to get back home for a little closer to his New Jersey base for his last two seasons. I mean, other than Logan Howland's, I think in one box over here. The rest of the names are like, okay, guys, we wish the Jakes all the success and hope that they can somehow find a healthy season, one last healthy season for either one of them. But OU can no longer better rely on that situation. We need to move forward with different guys, different players. You know, getting different reps and getting prep. We can't pencil those guys in. If you can't pencil them into the two deep because of their unreliability, and I hate to be mean about that, but I'm sure that's kind of what Jim Nagy is calculating. Then I think for the O line, it looks like a lot of players, but really when you talk about the availability on the field, the last 12 months, the last season, Chris, I mean, we're talking about 1.5, 2 games with Everett and Jake Taylor never played, and Sexton barely played,
Yeah.
and Troy Everett unfortunately got hurt, and we had to switch to Mackle. I think game 3, I think, or something like that.
which
So
which kind of was a blessing in disguise. It was kind of a pleasant surprise as well. It was all of that wrapped up in one, and then I think now you're looking for his development to continue for him to translate a lot of that to the run game as well. But I would also say that you could be in the hunt just to see kind of what could we do at center, unless you feel like EPL or Allenback would be ready for something like that next year, right? So,
well, I think I floated the idea, with some other folks that I think Heath Ozetta should be
oh yeah, yeah,
cross trained this spring with an eye towards being our starting center in 27, because I think that flexibility and that position NFL wise could work out really well for Heath. So
well,
and for the Sooners, but we'll see what happens. I mean, they may pick up a guy from the portal who has some experience
Well,
playing
I was gonna
center.
say, we'll get to that here in a little while. We'll get to that here in a little while. So, guys, we're going to move on from the offensive line. We told you the guys that are leaving, kind of our thoughts about that. Before we do that, again, like and subscribe to each channel, and also give a shout out to our sponsor for this podcast, Kaizen Performance Fitness here in Norman, Oklahoma. Go check out what G Fit and Romero have going on there. So definitely a gym that I love. A lot of people go there. A lot of ADs or former ADs, right, at OU. I've seen a lot of people go there. A lot of different people go there. A lot of professional athletes go there. So definitely go check them out. That being said, Chris Mason, let's go ahead and move on to our next room that we saw some exits yesterday, or over these past couple of days, we've seen some exits. Let's go to the DB room. Obviously, you lose Day Day Jordan. That one was a tad bit odd because he played this year, but then again, would he have really played that much if Newcomb had never gotten hurt? I think to me right now, obviously Gentry Williams is in the portal, and those are the first two names we could talk about. But I would be remiss just to say, Hawkins, we knew that was kind of going to be a bang bang play, but I was pretty excited about Malik Hawkins, the height, the intangibles, just some of the different things that we had heard. I was really excited about seeing him potentially get a chance, but that room is loaded, and I think that. you could potentially get better by subtraction with some of the recruits that you have coming in. You still got to think you got Tristan Haynes, you got, and I think they made a business decision on keeping Jacoby Johnson. So, Chris Mason, what are your thoughts about that room?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when some Sooner fans were freaking out yesterday. Well, freaking out maybe is a little strong, but I was just asking, who really of the top 30? If I asked you yesterday morning at 8 a.m., who are the top 30 guys on the roster that you want to keep, that you can keep, unless R. Mason Thomas is leaving and all that. So and let's and Kip and Kip and Owen Heineke have got decisions to make. So ignoring that. Who are the top 30 kids on the roster that you would want to keep, right? And I think maybe one other name that we'll get to, but Devin Jordan is somewhere maybe in that top 30, top 40, right? But if you can keep Jacoby Johnson, which it looks like they, barring some change, that looks like OU's that's accomplished. Devin Jordan's your fourth cornerback, right? And you've got Jeremiah Newcomb and Tristan Haynes, and you've got Derek Johnson coming in. So realistically, as the fourth cornerback, what can OU legitimately pay him versus what he can get on the open market? Now, I think Devin Jordan fits that category of talented, played well for OU, good measurables. There's probably at least two programs I'm betting that could have looked at OU's roster and figured out that if they offered Devin Jordan more than what OU was offering, that there's a good chance that they could get him. Right? And it's two programs that recruit Tulsa heavily and are involved there, right? So we know OSU needs players, and getting a transfer from OU is always sort of has some cachet for them. We know they try to do that in recruiting. And we know Arkansas is missing players a lot as well, and taking a Tulsa Union player makes sense for them as well. So I'm not saying either team poached him. I'm not saying that's illegal. I'm just saying that we're in a world of college football where Devin Jordan probably got a number of offers from other schools that OU is both unable to, and let's just say unwilling to match strategically.
So, what are the returns? I saw somebody in here. I forgot. Then who is that? Who said that? But I'll ask the question. I saw it. What are the returns on Tristan Haynes? What should have Sooner fans excited about Tristan Haynes that he could potentially step in that role? Now, this is pre, um, you know, camp that the Derek Johnson kid that you're talking about comes in, but also the fact that they could look elsewhere in the portal too.
They
But,
could.
yeah, but Tristan Haynes, is he a guy who could potentially step into that role? I know they were really excited about him, and you did hear some things about him and Guillory during camp, but Guillory just put himself on a different level, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, I think Tristan Haynes is arguably probably the most talented of the three guys. Well, it's him and Guillory right now. Um, of those three guys, with Hawkins obviously leaving, I mean, Haynes is the most talented, physically talented of that group. Chris, he's 6'2", 175, or at least that's what he enrolled at. Probably need to put a little weight on, and he needed to adjust to cornerback because he basically played everything at Carl Albert. But if you're talking about upside and talent, Haynes has it all. He has the long speed that you look for in a big cornerback. As you know, when you're putting a cornerback together, ideally you want length, wingspan, hips, and long speed and short speed. Yeah, Haynes checks every one of those boxes.
yeah.
So, with the development program OU has at cornerback and the improvement we've been seeing in young cornerbacks, I think there's a definite chance Haynes could fit into your, again, fifth cornerback slot. And if you view him as being the elite guy, I mean, let's not get it silly. If there was a way Malik would have stayed without his brother, OU would have been perfectly happy for that. And I think Malik would have helped a great deal. But he's close to his brother. He wants to follow his brother's journey. I got no issues with that. I don't think anybody at OU has. And like you said, you could easily pick up some cornerback depth or a cornerback safety, someone they think could maybe help them at both positions a little bit. In the portal, there's lots of guys in the portal that Nagy and OU have doubtlessly been kind of tracking and evaluating. So OU's got the numbers where they could pick up a cornerback, and I wouldn't shock. Before I thought OU was going to stand pat, but now they've lost Devin Jordan and Malik Hawkins. If you guys, I'm not sure I said it here, but I know I said it in that green room, Chris. I expected Gentry Williams to leave, right? We all kind of expected that. That's not anything that wasn't calculated in the numbers or the return numbers. So now you've lost Devin Jordan and Malik Hawkins. Yeah, I think maybe if you want to add a cornerback, that makes a lot of sense. And Unk's right. Derek Johnson's kind of one of those underranked kids, underappreciated kids in the recruiting class. So, I think there's a chance that are they going to bet on their young talent again? They could do that. And like I said, we're talking Jeremiah Newcomb, if he's healthy, can play cornerback. You got two big corners in Guillory and Jacoby Johnson. And then you've got Eli Bowen and now Jeremiah Newcomb. So, but it's really, we're talking about fifth cornerback position, sixth cornerback position. Do you go with your freshmen and your development guys? Because you're looking at signing a big cornerback class in 2027. So you might want to get Haynes and Johnson going so that you've got some separation between the classes.
Mm-hmm. All right. As we go to the other room that has some exits, Chris Mason, raise your shoulder up, raise your patch up so everybody can see what you got right there. Hey, we got merch. We got merch.
Sadly, this merch had to come from England. So whereas I got a polo that is color fitted exactly to Sooner Crimson, this looked more crimson on the website. And my wife's like, "I'm sorry, the color's a little off." I'm like, "No worries, we'll take the patch."
It looks good. It looks good. All right. So let's keep on moving. D-line room. So obviously, the name that you want to talk about is Marcus Strong.
Well, this is the hit, right? If you were talking about yesterday, you're like, yeah, okay. And then Devin Jordan hits, and you're like, all right, okay. And then when Marcus Strong hit, the collective word from the Sooner fan base was, shit, crap. And I understand that, but it just gets down to it. D-line is a major commodity in the portal and college football. You saw it last night. We've seen it throughout the playoffs. And the fact of the matter is that Marcus Strong is OU's third defensive tackle. You are not paying Marcus Strong, David Stone, Jaden Jackson money. I love Marcus Strong. I love the recruiting story. I love the development story. We talked about him on our post-game stuff. You heard us talking about him. And it's just a matter of fact that someone has offered Marcus a really big bag. And OU is not in a position for their third defensive tackle to match that number. Someone has poached Marcus Strong. He's got a big bag. I think he's still making a mistake. I think development under Bates has a dollar value connected to it that is not matchable in the portal. But Marcus Strong and his people have obviously gotten that. Maybe OU goes to them and says, well, we can sweeten your deal a little bit. You want to stay, we want you to stay. You want to develop under Bates. We think there's a dollar value to that is commensurate to X. But if someone, Chris, let's just put a number around it just so we're outside the abstract, right? So let's just say Marcus Strong was offered, $400K by somebody or $500K by somebody, and OU's only able to offer him $150 or $125, something like that. I think a 10-year NFL career is worth more than that money, but I can understand that Marcus may have a situation, and I don't know Marcus's situation. We don't know what's going on with any of these folks' families, really. or just as you said, money talks and everything else walks, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's the situation that we're in. Somebody who desperately needs defensive line has stack ranked the guys that they think they can get access to for a certain dollar amount, and has decided Marcus Strong is the best guy, and he's worth X amount to them. OU's like, well, we've already had to up Stone's money and Jaden Jackson's money, um, you know, so we go from there. I mean, I would tell you guys that OU's in a position where they probably need to do something from that perspective. But there's a chance coming out of spring that Trent Wilson and Nigel Smith are making us think may lead us to the conclusion that Marcus Strong has made a good decision. That both of those guys are I think, are more talented than Marcus Strong, and given their development windows, could be better. But official Boomer 580 is doing a good job tracking what's going on in the portal and the conversations around the portal, and Xavier Gilliam, 6'3", 300-pound defensive tackle from Penn State. He's a redshirt freshman, so he's got 3 years to play. His follows are surrounded by OU people, like everybody, like Bates, everybody in the front office. So it looks like OU has perhaps identified a guy that they like on video that they could bring in, and that would be a good move. They have a kid visiting from Arkansas State who I think they were going to take regardless of what happened with Marcus Strong,
Sigler.
Sigler. So OU, with all the guys that entered the portal, we have a little bit of a reset on the numbers. I think OU is going to take everywhere. We can talk about that, after we talk about Marcus, and kind of just set that up a little bit. But I think Marcus Strong is one of those. You lose Marcus, you go get somebody that changes the portal numbers, right? You were only going to get one defensive tackle before that. Now maybe you get two, and it looks to me like OU's identified two guys that they really like.
Can and I get Onk's point. I get Topher's point as well. I get his point. You could find a better kid in the portal to replace Strong. I guess it's just from a continuity standpoint. You're
Yeah,
thinking that maybe, yeah, he knows the system, this and that, but we've seen guys come in, especially at D tackle, and be able to do just fine, right? And you're not expecting those guys to be starters, but you're expecting them to come in and have heavy production as far as being part of a rotation, right? Um,
correct.
I think that, yeah, yeah,
I mean, if Wilson and Smith have big springs, and the two guys you bring in who will also have spring football, you keep your weight, you keep your load on, you keep Stoney and Jaden Jackson, fresh with the system, but you don't need to work them too hard, and you bring in some other guys. I mean, the Gilliam guy, it's hard to say when you watch some of his film that he may have a higher ceiling than Strong. And then you add that to the mix, and we undersigned some guys, and he's another guy with 3 years that could be around for a while, that can help you absorb the hit that we'll have next for 2027, because we're obviously going to lose Stone and Jaden Jackson to the NFL. At least that's the projection right now.
yeah. So, looks like we that the linebacker room and the D line. I think that you still feel good about some of the younger guys or whatnot, but got to see it. Got to see it. Chris Mason. Only thing else that I'll talk about, because a lot of the other names we knew were already getting into the portal. Josiah Martin was a little bit of an odd one. I thought that he was a guy that would, special teams, potentially taking that over for Satania, maybe, but I think you would keep Satania in that spot. But he was somebody special teams as well, return game, and then potentially maybe working himself on the field, because you had heard good things about the kid, just needed to put on weight. But he jumped in there. I think it was expected for KJ Daniels, as you said. God showed him the way to the portal, but um, I think
He works in mysterious ways, right? So
we're still waiting to see what happens with Kearney and Carrion. I guess I
yeah,
would leave. you to
Yeah.
kind of discuss. But wide receiver room, obviously, again, on the offensive side, especially Barnes, different names like that. I don't think that you really lost a lot of production. You didn't really lose anything that was truly, truly valuable to what you were trying to accomplish this year. And you could say that overall about everything. Even if you could stretch it to Marcus Strong to a sense, right? Regardless, though, um, any thoughts about the wide receiver room with the current exits and then potential exits? Because I know we're still looking at Raggins as well.
Yeah, I mean, if you so it used to be that obviously Joe John Finley is the official whipping boy of our fan base.
Yeah.
Okay. And then for a while it was DeMarco Murray was number two.
Hmm.
Well, it seems like there's been a transition there, and everyone is now has Emmett Jones sort of in their crosshairs as whipping boy number two.
Yeah.
So from a certain perspective, it looks like Nagy's clearing out Emmett Jones's portal guys and high school guys that aren't making much of an impact.
Yeah.
Looks to me like Nagy basically says, um, Josiah Martin, you probably should find somewhere else to play because I think he thinks everything Nagy's saying indicates that moving forward, the high school guys he wants pushed at least initially, because Xavier Okafueze isn't enrolling early, but Rogers, Odom, and Petit are all enrolling early, and then you've got Manny Choice and Emmett and Elijah Thomas as well. So that seems to be the high school guys. He's saying, I need to see these guys develop. I need to see these guys in the rotation. And I think that just tells you all you need to know about um, maybe the guys currently in the portal and where Nagy views them in terms of their impact. I mean, carry on to me is a is a flex tight end and just needs to put some weight on and get determined about blocking. Then I
That's
think you'd see the field
that's
easier.
for the longest. That was his easiest route to get on the field. Said that's before he even came here as a wideout. Um,
Kearney's the wild card, right? He's played for us. He has good size. He's got a big physical frame. Why he couldn't play this year is other than Elijah Thomas is the other mystery. Why is he on special teams but not playing at wide receiver? And why can Zion Kearney not get back on the field?
yeah,
So I mean that's where it is. So I think there's a chance Emmett Jones he may be that may be a move that OU makes as a wide receiver coach. I think some of the Nagy's comments about the wide receiver room and stuff like that might indicate that that's a more serious conversation than we thought.
now that's just speculation. I still like my boy EJ. I think Emmett Jones is still valuable, but conversations got to be had at some point, right?
Well, I mean, again, this is we have a new GM. He is evaluating things differently than the way Brent evaluated them last offseason. So that leads to conversations. Maybe there's a different opportunity. I don't know. So maybe nothing happens at all. But if I'm objectively looking at Emmett Jones' wide receiver room and his high school development, and I think we would be remiss if we didn't think Jim Nagy's doing that,
Mm.
then Emmett Jones has had two not so great years from his high school talent.
All right. Well, we'll leave that there. Say the best for last. We still got a little bit more pod to go, but I say the best conversation as far as portal exit. This is going to lead into kind of our retention slash projections as projected targets or whatnot. But Michael Hawkins officially entered into the portal. I think most of Sooner Nation, regardless of where you stand on which side you stand on, as far as he should have played, he shouldn't have played, he wasn't good enough, he was good enough. Whichever side, I think everybody saw this happen. I think that the kind of the what is it, the last straw or whatever broke the bow. I'm trying to get a good expression out, Chris Mason. think probably all signs probably point towards
Mateer returning.
well,
That Mateer's returning.
that too. That's probably I would say probably 60% of it. I say the other 40% we got that early when his dad was tweeting out certain things after the game privileges and all the rest of the stuff, which rightfully so. He can air out his grievances, his gripes, and stuff like that, and respect him and all the rest of that stuff, and hope that the kid goes and balls out. But I think this has been the writing has been on the wall for quite some time now. So obviously, Jason is not here. Jason, if you're listening, we get it. We get it. We know how you feel about material. We know how you feel about this kid. It is what it is. This is the world we live in now. Banger bust. You got to make your move. Got to do what you got to do. If they are gun ho, this happens to a lot of kids at all different levels. Coaches have their favorites. Coaches are going to play who they think is the best. Coaches going to play who they think is going to run a system. Kind of is what it is. Both have had some moments. Kind of is what it is, but all signs kind of point towards Mateer coming back, obviously, and he wants a chance. And we've heard it from Jason, we've heard it from you, Chris Mason, on and off screen, that there have been teams that have been trying to poach this kid for the last couple of years. So to me, I think I idealistically go to TCU because it looks like Hoover is gone. Go to TCU, go to SMU. I think both of those places fit what you're trying to do. You're from, I mean, you basically grew up there, so let's, go home, go do what you got to do. I wish the kid all the success in the world. I think he has the intangibles, just hasn't put it together, right? So, I mean, Chris Mason, where are you at? And in the chat, where are you guys at?
Well, this is a decision he had to make, right? Once it was clear Mateer was returning, and whatever indication OU gave Mike Hawkins about that, he had to move on. He needs to play. He needs to get reps. He needs to start. He needs to start starting. And OU, and Brant Arbuckle can honestly say it's a true competition at the quarterback position. Everyone's going to get a real chance, but it's like incumbent senators, right? In Congress, incumbency at quarterback means just a lot, and to ignore that is ignoring reality. On every level of football, incumbency at quarterback means a massive amount. So I think Mike made the right decision, and he needs to go somewhere, and he needs to get on the field and play. We don't have enough. I don't think we have enough data on Mike to say he's awful or he's going to be great. I think it's somewhere in the middle. He's stuck somewhere in the middle. The 2024 data I would throw out completely because OU was such a big mess. And we didn't see enough of him in 2025 to really form too much of an opinion. So he needs to go somewhere where he's going to get a true opportunity to start and get on the field. I don't know where that is. There's a lot of quarterbacks in the portal who have more playing time and more experience than Mike. So Mike may be thinking, I'm going to go to a school at this level, and he may drop a little bit below that to find somewhere where he can legitimately start. That's what he needs. He needs somewhere where the talent on that roster gives him a position to legitimately start. And I don't know what school that level that's going to be.
Big
Um,
12 right there for you, like I said. And well, hey,
it could be, but
yeah,
to
I
get
was,
a legit chance to start or be in the best position to start, he may need to drop a little bit below that. Not because of his talent level, just because he doesn't have the starting reps that other players have. He doesn't have the tape that other players, that other quarterbacks have. And again, guys, quarterbacks are just flooding the portal, just like wide receivers, just like every other year. So I think that's his best bet. And if he kills it somewhere else, there's no reason he can't step up again with 3 years to play, depending upon what he's doing. Mississippi State has a dude. They have a huge, big guy. If you didn't watch the Egg Bowl, that redshirt freshman is their starting quarterback. Well, he doesn't need to go somewhere else where he's battling a incumbent starter or a projected starter. He needs to go somewhere where they don't have a starting quarterback coming back, or they don't have their picked projected heralded guy. He needs to go to a wide open competition where he can grab the starting position. And that may not be in the SEC. I can't tell you I know every Big 12 quarterback because I don't, because I'm not tracking that. But he's not going to unseat like Connor Wegman and Houston if he's coming back. TCU needs a guy. Are they going to pick up somebody from the portal? He doesn't want to really be competing with another portal quarterback who's got the offensive coordinator's sort of stamp of approval. Mike needs to be very, very focused on where he's going and choose the right spot. Don't be so focused on what level. Find the right spot where you can compete, win a recruit, we truly win a head-to-head battle, and get on the field.
That's it.
I mean, it's once he does that, and if he stars out at that, then then if he wants to move up a level, he can. If he wants to move back in the portal and be someone, guys can someone that SEC or Big Ten schools or an ACC school really wants, then he can do that. Like for instance, he shouldn't jump into FSU, right? Because
No.
they're going to bring in somebody else. Who knows what's going on with their offense? That's just that's a messy position, right? So don't do a jump like that. Find somewhere that really wants him and projects him to be their starter. Because
Like I said, Chris Mason, Big 12 is right there, dude. Like you look at a lot of the schools who are not returning guys. What's going on with Utah? What's going on with
they got flicking.
uh,
They got flicking. If they lose what's his name to Michigan, which I think is a possibility, maybe.
yeah.
They've got Flickin, the Jamar Flickin. I guess I think he was from Muskogee.
Yeah, I get it, but I still say Utah. I would say Arizona. I know they got Fafita. I'm just looking at places that, hey,
Yeah, I mean, if he's being smart, for Arizona would make sense, right? Yeah.
be honest with you, I wouldn't really put it past Colin Klein, K State. I think that'd be a good place where Colin Klein, let now Chris Mason, hear me out on this. Now,
Okay.
Marcel Reed has always been a firecracker at quarterback. He can start some shit real quick, but he had to refine some stuff. But it also was beneficial to him, and I think that's probably he's. I think Colin Klein still called the games or whatnot. Regardless, though, Colin Klein calls an offense that is based upon, hey, we're just going to take what's there. We're going to play the short game. We will take our shots here and there, but we're going to have some dynamic weapons around you just to get it done. You do the quarterback is doing the most minimal, is giving the most minimal effort in a Colin Klein offense. It is a take what's there. If there's a shot, take the shot, but for the most part, just move the chains. I mean, and that would do really well for him. And the whole thing is that I don't necessarily know if everybody is still sold on the incumbent starter there right now. I'm forgetting his name,
It's
but
Avery Johnson, right? Is that his name? It's Avery.
there's places he can go and compete right away and potentially win the starting job. But not only that, but probably be in the same situation, not necessarily injury wise, but there's some places where there's a huge question mark at quarterback. So regardless, though, I hope the kid does well. We'll kind of lead the conversation there. I know we'll be talking about that again and again throughout this season, leading up to the team. What was it, 133 now? So, with that being said, let's go ahead and switch over to the projections right now. Obviously, things have changed. Chris Mason, I think that we definitely are going to be in the portal for some more offensive linemen now, more than we thought. You're probably looking at another backup tackle, another center, possibly guard. So I think that's a reality. You may be looking at corner. Obviously, you're looking at D line. We talked about two guys at the D line that you may be looking at. Wide receiver wise, obviously everybody wants the biggest fish in the pond, which is Cam Coleman. But Amari Miller and other wide receivers are still out there and they're entering left and right. So wherever you want to start, Chris Mason, just go down the line and let us know basically what's going on. I think we can talk about Mateer last.
Okay, so I think at quarterback, OU stands pat at 4 unless another guy leaves.
Okay.
Running back, they obviously like the kid from Colorado State who should be coming in this weekend, and I think they'll lock him up as an all-purpose back, depth piece back, returner kind of guy. I also could see them also if they can find the right guy for the right money, adding another running back so that OU has six backs rather than four or five, which kind of hurt them last year. If Satania returns, which is what we believe will happen, I think wide receiver they get one elite guy, two at the most. Offensive tight end, they're going to get three guys. They just basically have cleared out the tight end room. Cade McIntyre is the only guy left, and I'd anticipate that he's probably going to hit the portal pretty soon. So look at three guys.
It's still there.
From, he hasn't entered the portal yet, to the best of my knowledge.
Okay.
But I think that's kind of an obvious move. So three tight ends, at least three offensive linemen, like you said, one swing tackle, and then two guys interior that can play offensive guard, or at least one of the guys can play center. You could obviously go to four if you get the right guy, but at some point, it's more about class designation and years left, I think, getting a spread there in terms of what you're going to do. They have kicked the tires on a couple of guys who we mentioned before. I'll just recap. Blake Cherry and DJ Chester from LSU. Blake Cherry from Arkansas, DJ Chester from LSU. Two guys that might make some sense. With Strong leaving, I think you go two defensive tackles. Linebacker, Owen Long from Colorado State's now in the portal. There are every sign that he wants to come to Norman. So that's a good fit there. If Owen Heineke gets his waiver, obviously you'd have the best starting linebacker returning group if Kip returns as well. But Sam Omasigo is a senior as well, so maybe that upsets that a little bit, so just keep an eye on that. I've always said the four senior linebackers wasn't really sustainable from a playing time development model, so keep an eye on that situation. From that perspective, I think two backers might make sense there. And I've obviously, they like Owen Long and they like Owen Chambliss. So I think go use identify two guys. Maybe they bring them in regardless. I could certainly see that. And obviously, I think they need a cornerback. And if Jaden Hardy hasn't re-signed according to the information out there from OU Insider, hasn't been refuted anywhere else. If for some reason you lose Jaden Hardy, I think you probably grab a safety as well. And there's plenty of talent in the portal for cornerbacks and safeties, guys you could pick up.
Are we still in that area of? I know we could throw out names out there, projected names, but are we still in that area where it's not necessarily solid ground as far as like how quickly we move on guys or whatnot? Like the guys that are like, yeah, for sure. I know like we feel really good about the Colorado State kid you just talked about, potentially the
Florida tackle, tight end.
yeah, there's
And the Sigler kid, if you could pull the trigger on him this weekend, I think they'd take him. I mean, OU right now, if you have a couple more portal entries that I just mentioned, based upon the math I'm doing, and it's kind of a swag because the roster numbers are changing and who's on scholarship and who isn't on scholarship. So OU, I would project OU's going to add a bigger portal class somewhere in the 15 range if they decide to hit all of their depth needs. And OU has about 22 spots available.
do you well I was going to say people I see the comments we haven't jumped on here like everybody else and we've talked about Cam Coleman this and that, but we told you just straight up like that was I think that was maybe a 3 to 5 minute conversation. Offers have been made, all the rest of that stuff we already know the who, but I don't necessarily know if Nagy's going to go is going to walk all the way to the sun, burn himself, you know what I'm saying, and then come back empty handed. I think that, again, my choice would be Amari and Miller, maybe the kid from Boston College. You can get those two in here. I think you can still go get it on.
And
Really.
OU appears to be waiting on a couple other names to hit the portal. That's the general buzz. George Stoya has referenced that. So have Parker Thune and Brandon Drum. That there may be a name that OU's waiting to hit the portal. I'm trying to think of the best receivers in college football and think about what name they're actually waiting on. But we'll see. there's certainly a possibility. There's certainly a possibility that some other name comes out there that has some more connections to OU. I'm going to dive into some wide receiver lists and see if I can maybe come up with some ideas for us in the green room, Chris. But overall, OU wants to start developing high school wide receivers. Don't look for a big portal class from the wide receiver group. You've got Satania coming back. You want to get a number one or a co-starter out of the portal, and then you want to give guys like Gibson and Carter runway to go, and you want to start getting the five names I mentioned before. You want to start getting those guys into the mix at wide receiver. Physically, Petit could help. Jasir Rogers could help. I think Daniel Odom's a very polished wide receiver coming out of St. John Bosco. He can help. And you got to fast, and we need to start getting Manny Choice and Elijah Thomas on the field, seeing what they can do. So I think if you think you're like, why aren't we signing three or four portal wide receivers? I just told you why. You've got three guys that you have projected returners, and that's who you really want, and that's where you need it. That's where you need to go. So,
All right. Last thing before we jump up off here, people, is there any word on when, if and when Kip and Mateer are going to announce that they could potentially be returning? Same with Satania.
I think we're going to see those announcements probably over the weekend. I mean, we need to start. OU needs to start making those decisions quickly. And obviously, I think they know Mateer's coming back, and that was the last signal they gave. That Hawkins' folks got, like, yeah, Mateer's coming back. So I just think we're waiting for a public announcement on whenever that's scheduled to be made.
All right. Look, people, if and when guys start committing and all the rest of that stuff, we will try to jump on here as quick as we possibly can to kind of give you a breakdown of what our initial thoughts about the kid. We'll try to watch as much film and all the rest of that stuff and give you realistic expectations. That being said, though, go check out Sooners 360 with Chris Mason. Go subscribe to the Patreon. It's only $2, but at the same time, he's dropping Wednesday pods every week. That's your central location to get all of this news, all of the fluff. No fluff, but all the good stuff. Shout out to our sponsor for this pod, Kaizen Performance. Go check them out in Norman if you're in town. Definitely worth all of it, right? But with that being said, people, I think that we're going to be out of here until something bigger happens. Enjoy your new year. Happy New Year's 2026. Don't listen to Bevo. He's an idiot. Also, he goes MIA whenever Texas is not doing good, so I can't really respect him. But I'm glad he's here. But also, definitely don't listen to Sooners Cowboys. That's our guy, but he's back to his doom and gloom ways. We thought we had you, my friend, but obviously we didn't. Regardless, people, we're out of here. We will talk to you on